Hey, good evening, leaders. Trust you've been doing well. Your week has been
Good
well.
evening.
Yeah, good evening too. So let's do a check. Thank you, Chairman, Mr. Gidiomi, for confirming. I can confirm also with Joshua. Joshua, how are you? Yeah, as I check on Joshua, let me also check with Maureen. Maureen, how are you, Maureen?
I'm fine.
Thank you so much. That is Joshua. Okay, thank you so much, Joshua. How about Maureen? Maureen, how are you? Okay, let me
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. Brian, I trust.
Good evening.
Good evening, Maureen. Thank you too for confirming. Yeah, so leaders, just want to welcome all of you again for this discussion. I trust you've been well. And
Good evening, Mwalimu.
good evening, Brian Mwaka. Thank you so much. Yeah, so let me take that sample and just confirm probably we are all communicating well. So I'll just move straight on to our discussion tonight. But just to refreshen our memory a little bit before we get into the session on what we tackled last week. And then that will prepare the ground to be able to guide us into tonight's discussion. But before that, allow me to say a prayer, and then we'll be able to move on. Let's pray. God, we are grateful, and we commit this session to you. It's our prayer that, Lord, as you've walked with us, you've taken us through this journey from the day we started to where we are today. We want us to continue trusting in you, that as we continue to discuss, as we continue to learn, more importantly, Lord, this will be an inside-out transformation that is guided by you, oh God. We pray that whatever we discuss tonight, may you embed it deeply in our hearts so that we can be a reflection of the leadership that brings glory and honor to you. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Yeah, so I know some of us were there last week when we were discussing. Last week we looked at two lessons. We looked at one lesson actually. We looked at lesson 7. And maybe we can start by refreshing our memory a little bit on what happened, what transpired last week. We also had just a brief group session just to be able to discuss on our progress and also to share a little bit of our experience because we are getting close to the project discussions. So it's good to start setting the platform and also to start preparing the environment. So let's reflect. We looked at lesson 7, and lesson 7, we looked at the classification of leadership. And then after that, we were able to look at the evolution of leadership. And I will invite maybe 2 people who can just help to refresh our memory on what we looked at last week. Maybe some of us who attended the physical class today, you might be a little bit more fresh because we were discussing this in the morning with cohort 15. So it might still be quite fresh. So you can also participate and help us just to freshen up, to catch up. So whatever was outstanding, just feel free to mention it, either on the chat or you can unmute and just mention something that was very outstanding. That will also help us to bring on board those who were not there last week so that we are able to be at par even as we engage on lesson 8 and lesson 9 today. So let me open the platform. I will just take 2 minutes to do that. Then we'll be able to move on. So whoever wants to be the first one to mention, please just proceed and mute and share. You can also use the chat just to share what was outstanding for you. One thing that really came out strong, and maybe among the many things, that's what you're able to pick and probably implement or take it into action in terms of your leadership. So 2 people can mention, and then the rest of us can share on the chat and before we move on. So karibuni. First, we can make it voluntary, and then we can see if we can get some people to help us if we need to move faster. Yeah, so what stood out for you on lesson 7? Or what was your takeaway? Because I think in all the sessions, at least we run with one thing that comes out very clear in our discussions. So what was your takeaway, or what stood out for you? I don't know if Brian, are you able to start the discussion for us tonight? Just by mentioning one thing. Either Brian or David Okello.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, good evening, Brian.
Yes. What stood out for me was the evolution of leadership, the different leadership styles.
Yeah, so
Am I
Brian,
audible?
I think there's a little bit of a lag in the communication, but let's see if we can be able to follow through. Sorry, I think I don't know if it's my side or the others. Are the others able to follow through what Brian is explaining?
I think it was the same. There was some lag, but I got him.
Okay. Yeah, so the issue of the evolution of leadership, the different styles, and just an understanding of where some of these discussions originate from. Like when people are talking about leaders made or leaders born, it's a theory. So we're able to connect clearly. This was a theory, and maybe it came along time ago in the timeline of evolution of leadership. And this gives us a platform to be able to engage and probably even be able to take people through the transition from this theory, what else followed, what followed, until where we are when we are talking about the servant leadership, and which also is, as much as we are discussing this as a current leadership style, it's a timeless leadership style. It has been there for centuries. If we take it back to the life of Jesus Christ, who is the model of servant leadership, then we realize we might place it in 1970s, but the reality is it has been in existence for quite some time. Okay, so thank you, Brian, for refreshing our memory on the evolution of leadership. I can take one more. Probably maybe David or anybody else who may want just to comment.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
You can hear me?
Yes, David.
Yes. The key take for me last week lesson is the word ambidexterity. Ambidexterity. Is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
This literally means the ability to use both hands with equal ease. And it has been seen, as I repeat, is that there are some circumstances where a leader can possess a dual-focused leadership approach. And we saw into it from last week's lessons that for firms to be successful, that one is in the short and long run, it is necessary to be both explorative and exploitative. That is to be ambidextrous. And we also saw that organizations achieve a balance of these two, or rather, organizations that achieve a balance of these two activities are more successful than those that do not achieve such a balance. So that was my take home from last week's lesson. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Ambidextrous leadership. That was the big word last week. And basically, it's a Latin word that means both, the ability to use both hands. And in our context, we said it can take different leadership contexts. One of them is that ability as a leader to be able to think long-term, but at the same time also to be able to address the short-term needs. So we don't lose the sight of the long-term, the vision, but again, we are also looking at what is there currently, and we are able to take care of that. And then also exploring new opportunities while maximizing on the available opportunities. And again, we also talked about serving the interests of the organization, but again, still being able to look at the individual's interest so that we're able to take care of their welfare. So the rest of us, maybe if there's something that you may want to share from the last discussion, feel free to use the chat platform. Then we'll be able to look at it later on as we continue. But otherwise, for tonight, we want to move on to lesson 8, a very, very important lesson. And as we go through this lesson, let's reflect. We are now moving, we are on level 2 of this program. So we're now getting into, we have shifted from more self-awareness. So we are now getting into the core of leadership, the phases of leadership. What are the core roles of a leader? Just trying to put them in the context. And again, we'll be looking at how well are we performing in these particular roles. So we're getting into a little bit of core before we really get to the core of leadership in level 3. And to jumpstart the discussion tonight, we have one of us who was in cohort 9. He's called Mr. Peter Githiomi. Peter Githiomi has been a facilitator since he went through this program, and he's really mastered a number of lessons quite well, especially lesson 8 and 9, which has been able to facilitate a number of times, and also learning from his own experience, both from the his profession, and also his leadership in other areas that he's been privileged to offer oversight. So we'll just listen to him for lesson 8, and then I'll come back later on to be able to take us through lesson 9. So Mr. Githiomi, you will guide me if you want to present from your side, or I can allow you to share your screen, either your side or my side, but any is workable. Otherwise, karibu sana.
Asante Joseph, thank you very much. Kindly share the screens, the slides, because where I am, I left the computer somewhere else. So kindly share the slides for me.
Okay.
Thank you. So leaders, welcome on board. as Joseph has mentioned, is that I think we are midway, and I'm sure you are enjoying your journey in discovering whom you are and whom you want to be as a leader. And I can tell you every lesson is a new discovery, including what we are going to learn today. So karibuni sana, welcome on board. Maybe just to start us off, maybe in the chat, which are some of the great names of leaders in our days, or in the previous who are not, even if they are not alive today, you'd really resonate with what you'd call good leadership, or when the word leadership, a good leader, is mentioned, which names keep on coming into your mind? Maybe you can just mention it, I mean, in the chat box, then we'll pick one or two names as we go into our lesson today. David has already mentioned Mahatma Gandhi. Nelson Mandela is another one. That is true. Those are names you'll always hear when we talk of great leadership. Any other name, or even those who are alive? Mother Teresa is another one. Mwai Kibaki, that was who? The third president of Kenya. Paul Kagame, this is the president of Rwanda, the current president. That is from Samuel Mwangi. Cyrus, Martin Luther. Martin Luther is also a leader that we always mention in terms of transformation, in terms of vision. Then Matu Wangari Maathai, again, that's another great name. I think this sets our pace, that all these are great leaders who have done great things in our days. So in our today's lesson, the leadership development phases, all these leaders have one thing in common, is that they went through some stages to become the greater leader that they were. And that's why even most of them, though they are not alive, we consider them as great leaders, because we can actually see what they stood for, or we are beneficiaries of what they stood for. So tonight we are going to look at this, the phases. Also from the Bible, we have also great examples of people like Joseph, people like King David, who came from very humble beginnings, and he became one of the greatest leaders Israel has ever had. And so whatever we are going to learn, we'll see it even in the life of such like King David. We can go to the first slide. So in the book written by Bill George, he notes that leadership is something notes that leadership is not something you are born with. Leadership requires constant self-development and growth. Leadership is a journey with 3 distinct phases. So coming from, remembering your lesson in lesson 7, I'm sure as we have discussed or recapped this evening, we remember that there are those who thought that leadership, one model thought that leadership is something you are born with. Another one is leadership is not something, you are trained to become a leader, servant leadership, and all those types of leadership that we have discussed. So in this particular model, we are going to concentrate with the phases, how the leader is developed to become the great leader. Model, those who have done a bit of training, they know the word model. I can see also we have a few teachers here. Model is something that you design or you come up with to give, it gives a picture of what the final product will look like. It will give you some line of thinking, how the final product will look like. Like in buildings, we do models. So even in leadership, there are they are kind of models that this one don't like this, then you put in his own model. Another one will think differently, then you come up with a different model. So for now, we'll look at these phases as discussed by Bill George in his book. And the first phase is what we call preparing for leadership. This is when you are preparing, you have not started leading the people, but you are preparing yourself. So the focus here is on the self, so that it's like you are arming yourself. You have not yet gone to battle, but you're arming yourself. Then phase 2, you do the leading. And then phase 3, you do the giving back. That is a time of, you are generous, you are giving back, you are emptying yourself because you have already accumulated a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. So you are giving back to the next generation or to the next leader. And the authentic leader is one who has a heart and compassion as he leads. That is by the same writer, Bill George. An authentic leader is also one who leads with the purpose and passion, who leads with the values. An authentic leader, again, is one who leads with the values and behavior. So his leadership is anchored on, they are like goalposts. There is some non-negotiable values this leader sticks to. And then he leads through relationship and connectedness with the people that he is leading. He is self-disciplined and consistent. So that's what an authentic leader is. And we have already seen the 3 phases that this leader goes through. And all these leaders we have talked about, they went through these phases. Kind of, we can move. And at the phase 1, that is where we are preparing the leader. The main target here, we said, is the person himself, the leader. And you prepare for leadership through character development, what we call self-development. You cannot lead others if you have not led yourself. I'm sure you have heard this many times. That is like the foundation of any leadership. Until you have seen where you are taking people, you cannot take them. You cannot point them to that promised land. You cannot take them to that good life that you have seen. So you yourself as a leader, you must see it first, and then you are able to point others to it, and then they'll buy it. Otherwise, if again you are not convinced, it's very hard for you to sell. It's just like a salesman. If you are the product you are selling to me, you are not convinced that it works, it will be very difficult to sell it. So that is at phase 1. It's the first part of the journey. Phase 2, you start leading by taking initiative, embracing new challenges until you reach the peak of leadership. So you keep on leading now, giving, training people, increasing your influences wherever you go, until you reach the peak of your leadership. And then in phase 3, which is the final part of the leadership journey, you start seeking opportunities to spread your leadership wisdom to others, giving back to the community, even though the learning process continues. So what we also learn is that you could also be moving from one stage. Let's say like you're a community leader, you started from, low key positions. You keep on giving back. I mean, you are relinquishing your post as you take a new position. So that is a lifelong journey, seeing others take over what you have been doing. So we have a graph that is showing the same thing, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And it shows us that at the phase 1, the character development, and you keep on rubbing shoulders against the world, is because what you will be telling them or you'll be doing most of the time will look like you are in opposition. You can imagine somebody like Nelson Mandela. People have been used to apartheid all these many years. And then you come here and tell them, guys, what? this thing we can triumph, we can come out of it, and we become our own people, an independent country. Because people's mind are already tuned that we are being colonized, Mzungu is superior to us. You'll be going like against that kind of a thought. So you really require to be very strong, as we said, and that character. You need to walk with conviction. Conviction is that it's like you are fully determined that the cause that you are living for, you are fully persuaded. It's like what we see with somebody like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Once you know what you want, there is no danger, there is no opposition that can persuade you in a different direction. That's what we call conviction. And we can see people like Nelson Mandela, they really meant it. That's why they could even be locked in a jail for those many years without changing, because they were fully sold out to the cause that they were standing for. So there will be those up and downs, and then you will come out and start leading. Now your character, the convictions are clarified in your life. Then you keep on rising up with those up and down until you reach the peak. Then you start giving back to the society. What we have been discussing, the three phases, can be summarized in a picture where we have the plane taking off in the runway, then it's in the air, and it's again landing. So the first stage, we have talked a lot about competence, conviction, and character at the preparation stage. That's when what happens with the pilot, he will go to the plane itself and will start doing what we call the flight planning, checking. Every box must be ticked. Yeah? The fuel, is it there? The pressure of the tires, everything, you keep on checking. Because the journey that you're about to embark on, you have to be sure that all is well. So you do your flight planning, then the plane will go to the runway, and it will start, the engines are already on, and you start developing power. But it is during the taxiway and the takeoff that it develops maximum power, so that it can go against the law of the law of gravity. So it's using the law of aerodynamics to counter the law of gravity, and then it will take off into the air. Then in the air, it will be smooth. That is during the cruise for some time, and that is a time when there looks like no struggle, because the opposition is not a lot. You already know your stuff. The plane is already cruising at those high speeds. It has developed enough its energy and not much opposition at that stage. Then it starts coming down again, the descent and the final approach, or the landing. So those are the three stages of leadership. So every leader we have mentioned today, they have gone through these stages. Otherwise, the energy to take off and the energy to sustain you, during the cruise or even landing, you will lack it. So this also explains why some of the leaders, when they start leading, they don't go far. If at all the competence, the conviction, the character, they are not fully developed, and the clarity of where they want to take the people. If these three forces that we are seeing, they are not clarified, that leadership will not achieve the intended results. And so when we look at this, it's also a good picture for us to weigh ourselves, or to look at ourselves in terms of where are we? Are we under the planning? Are we gaining, or are we being developed? Our character is being developed, or are we already leading? Are we now coming down? We have led, and now we are coming back. We are giving a lot of experience to those coming after us. I think this will be an exercise that we'll take home. We need to evaluate ourselves where we are. But very, very key. Competence, conviction, character, and clarity. Very key for your leadership to have meaning and to be sustained. In the book of Psalms 78, 72, the Bible says that David, we know him as a successful leader, that he led the people with the with the character of heart, that is integrity, and skillful hands. Those are the two things that are recorded in the Bible, that he had a character, integrity, that is from the heart, and then hands, he was skillful. So you do the training, you are trained to lead, and also you have a character. Because if you have any of them and you are lacking another one, again, that leadership will face some obstruction. You may not be able to lead. Just like we saw somebody like King Saul. He was picked by God, but he could not lead. He became a people pleaser. He started attracting popularity, and that may mark the end of his leadership. So it's important to really focus on that, on the conviction character, as you do the leading. We can move. So the three phases again, more details. And phase one, the character formation, we said self-development, being authentic and true to yourself and to your values, self-awareness and identity. These forms the foundation of leadership, determines sustainability and stability of the rest of the phases. Very key, as we said, it is a foundation. If this is overlooked, again, that leadership will have issues. You may not lead the people to the desired destination. There is this quote by Nelson Mandela that until I changed myself, I could not change others. In the same breath, it's like until I read myself, I cannot read others. So it's very, very key. It's like leaders for us to lead others. I look at it like a sermon. It's supposed to be like an outflow, something that it is flowing from you. It's not something that you are coming on the pulpit or on the stage to act or to perform for people. That sermon is coming from inside you. We can see the transformation in you. So it's like an outflow. What is inside you now is flowing to us who are listening to you. That's the only way you can be able now to walk with others along the journey. So very, very key. You need to know yourself and your identity. Without that and the strength that you, what you carry, then you'll be swayed. People come with other ideas or will tell you you cannot, then you'll buy in. But when you know yourself and your identity, it's very difficult for you to be swayed aside. Then reading through conviction, doing the right thing based on principles and moral force, maximizing influence, inspiration, and impact. So at phase 2, that's what you do. You keep on looking for, perfecting your message and looking for more audience, training the leaders, multiplying yourself, inspiring others, and impact. At the education or even the training, it also applies. A leader is successful if we can inspire the led or the students, those he is training, to go much more than he himself has gone. Just like a training like this, the moment we learn something, you will know that you are a good student if you go beyond even what has been taught in class. On your own, you are researching, you are inspired, you are going beyond even what you have been taught in the class. That is being inspired. And then you'll ask yourself, what was the philosophy that led so-and-so, Mother Teresa? What was she living for? So you get inspired and you do much more. So that is that is what a leader is supposed to do, to keep on inspiring the people he is leading. Then phase 3, you're thinking generativity. You are giving back that which you have accumulated over the years, the knowledge, the skills, the expertise, the experiences. You pass it on. You pass it on. The late Miles Monroe, actually, before he died, that is something he really, really emphasized. And I think that was his last book before he died, passing it on, so that by the time you go to the tomb, you have passed all that you had. You are going to the tomb empty. You remember his famous quote that the grave site is the most rich place, because many have gone there with books that were never written, songs that were never sung, knowledge that was never shared with others. So what have we done? We have denied the coming generations that kind of wisdom, the skills, the expertise. We have not transferred. So that's why he himself, he said, and he challenged us that let's go to the tomb when we are empty. We have given it all. I think that challenge still stands even today. Another model, this is by based on selfleadership.com. Again, he has come up with the 4 levels of leadership. The first one is personal leadership. Under personal leadership, this is where you evaluate your personal strengths and traits, the ability to lead and manage oneself in becoming a highly effective leader. So there you are leading self. And emerging leadership, you are a leader of a team. And the foundational leader, your desire is to get the fundamental leadership skills to lead and manage individuals in a team. So you are leading a team. Then under team leadership, you are leader of leaders. Here you are strengthened in your leadership skills to lead a team of managers with their individual teams, because you are leading leaders. Then under business leadership, you are a leader of business. And under this is the 4th level. Your functions are, as well as to people, it is to achieve overall business goals. So you are coming from personal leadership all the way to the business leadership. You are climbing up. The principle of self-leadership is that if you cannot lead yourself, you will never be able to lead others. I think we have mentioned that. Self-leadership is foundational form of leadership of the 4 levels of leadership. It is inside out. So again, remember that it's like an outflow. It's like, how do I put? It's like you have put water in a glass, and then now what is spilling from the glass, the overflow, is what now others are receiving. But already yourself, you are full. You are totally sold out to the mission. So the people are now seeing and receiving from you the overflow. So that's why we are calling it inside out. It's coming from you. Approach to leadership development ensures that the leaders and the leadership teams become more intentional, influential, and impactful. This is achieved by developing self-awareness, self-confidence, and self-efficacy. Note those 3 selves: self-awareness, confidence, and self-belief. Those are the driving forces behind this leader. He will not backtrack because already he is totally sold. He is already confident. And then in self-belief, he knows there is no situation that I will face in this life that I cannot overcome. And I will be able to achieve that which my hands or which I put myself to do. So you are so totally sold out that you will not fail. Let's go. And so those are the 3 levels. Again, by the same group, selfleadership.com. We have the 4 levels: personal development, team leadership, business leadership, and then here we have strategic leadership. Those are 4 levels. So now, under strategic leadership is the ability to influence others to voluntarily make decisions that enhance prospects for the organization's long-term success while maintaining short-term financial stability. Strategic leadership refers to a manager's potential to express a strategic vision for the organization or part of the organization, and to motivate and persuade others to acquire that vision. So under strategic leadership, you are actually seeing, you are painting that picture where you want to be at such a particular time. So very, very important that you paint that picture and you also have it in writing, so that also as people move on, they are able to see that this is what we had planned to do, and we are now hitting our targets. So you are moving strategically. You know, you can actually be able even to celebrate your wins as you keep on moving on. Very important when you are leading an organization. That is illustrated in a triangle. So at the bottom, we said it is a foundation. It is leading self, beliefs, values, and principles. Actually, if you look at, I think it's in the picture of an iceberg. If today you ask people what they believe at or what they believe in, what happens is that there is what we call core beliefs, and there is what we call the other one. There is core beliefs, and the other one is what you know, you what you speak, you know, what you say you believe in, but there is what we call core, the real you. That's my emphasis. There is what we call the real you. So a true leader, his belief is core. But there are times, like, let's say, for example, if you ask people about the corruption, there are people who will say, oh, this thing, we can manage it or we cannot manage it. There is what, if we ask you deep inside you, even when people are saying that, you know, we'll do it, there is what we call, there is what you actually believe. And now I just remember the word. It is what we call stated belief. In a human being, we have a stated belief and a core belief. And most of the time, what counts here is what is your core belief. Because when there is a crisis, let's say like for Nelson Mandela, if let's say when he was fighting for freedom and they are all arrested and put in and told, no, you will not be released for many, many years. That is when now what is his core belief will come out. Those who are not really believing that it is possible what they are doing, they will surrender and say, no, I cannot, and they'll go out. Because they were just stating out there that I believe in this thing, but it was not a core belief in themselves. And then, of course, we have the values and the principles. Those 3 must be settled for a leader, for the foundation of your leadership to take root. Then you go to level 2, you lead others by positively influencing them. Level 3, leading the leaders, that is where you do the empowerment. You are talking to leaders so that they can go out to the market and influence others. So you are multiplying yourself. You have already started giving back. Then in the 4th level, at the peak, is where you are leading movements, transformation, and a cause. So if you look at people like Martin Luther, by the time they died, they were actually living or leading for a transformation or a cause. They knew there is a cause why I'm here. even if I die, the cause is bigger than me. And that's why his dream was never trashed. Even many years after he died, the cause was realized because he was not, he was living for a cause, or rather he was reading for a cause, and he sold it out, and the lad bought it. So I'm sure you can see the pictures. He's in the first picture, then we can see Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela. So kindly, let's remember those the 4 levels of influence. And again, we have said very, very key that you clarify the values that you are standing for, or what is pushing you into this at the beginning when you are leading self. Thank you. You can go. John Maxwell has another model of the different phases of leadership. And this one is, he has divided it into 5 steps. The first one is where you are leading. At the very lowest step is because of your position. You have a right. Somebody has been picked to lead you, like he's a chairman in a committee. He has not done much, but because he's your chairman, whatever he says, you have to listen, you have to obey. So people follow such a leader because they believe they have to. He's our leader, so we have no choice, we have to. Then you come to stage number 2. People will follow you because what we call permission, because you now have a relationship with them, and people will follow you because they want to. You have already connected with them and they can see your heart and where you are taking them. Stage 3, production, they will follow you because of the result. They can see the results because of what you have done for the organization or for the group or for the committee. They can actually see it. There is a product that is speaking for itself. So people are not just following you because they have to, but because now there is some results. Then 4th step, people development. People will, in this case, will follow you because of reproduction. You are reproducing yourself. People follow because of what you have done for them. The results again will show that you are empowering them and you are, there is some development that they have seen since they joined the organization. And then the final one, the pinnacle, respect. People at this step, they will follow because of who you are and what you represent. Your heart is very clear to them and where you are taking them. So whatever you tell them, they will follow because they can already see the cause where you are taking them. That is a model by John C. Maxwell. So in summary, let's see, this one, we just want to, these are the qualities, characteristics of self-development. These are in page 42 of our manual. So maybe we can fill the gaps that are already there as we summarize today's lesson. The first bulletin is self-leadership is the foundation of any leadership development. Bulletin number 2, we have said that, remember again the lesson of foundation. Anytime you want to go up, put up a building, depending on how much you have gone down, it is what will tell us how high your building will go. So any building that is shallow, that the foundation is shallow, you don't expect it to go anywhere. And that's why even a simple buildings, like you are going 1 floor, they have to remove the soil, the soft soil, the black cotton soil has to be removed. Because the building that you are going to put up there, if with those weak soils, the building is lying on a weak soil, it will not go far, it will collapse. It's the same truth, even with the leadership. The deeper you go in convictions, in beliefs, in values, acquiring them, the higher your leadership will go. Very, very key. Self-leadership bulletin number 2 is the process by which you influence yourself to achieve your objectives linked to your vision. So the target is yourself, because it's like you are the main actor in this leadership. You start with yourself, then you can sell it to others. Bulletin 3, self-leadership is based on intentional choices. By being intentional, we live a life of choice. You are not pulled in any direction. Wherever you are, if you get a leader in a certain position or in a certain situation, let's say Nelson Mandela in prison, he will tell you, I am here not by mistake, but because I've chosen, because I have a cause that I'm leading that is bigger than my comfort. So you lead by becoming intentional. You live a life of intentionality, even what you choose. Bulletin 4, self-leaders are self-motivated and intrinsically motivated to take purposeful action and therefore make better leaders, entrepreneurs, and team leaders. Self-leadership determines effectiveness and impact of the team leadership, business leadership, and strategic leadership. Very, very key for self-leadership. We said, again, the foundation, all that you ever become. If you lead an organization, if you lead a business or strategic leadership, it depends on how much you have worked on yourself. Yeah, that is very key. Then next is that self-leadership develops autonomy. That is ownership of choice, which leads to greater responsibility and accountability. A leader does not keep on saying that, like we have found even in our country here, when a leader wants to make a certain decision and probably he doesn't want to take responsibility, he will say that my people told me to go this direction, so that now whatever happens, he will be able to say, no, my people led me into this. A good leader cannot keep on saying that I was led to make this decision. He takes ownership of the choice. And then he becomes accountable and responsible. If all the time a leader knows that I can be on the fence, sitting on the fence, that will not make a good leadership. So that's not a quality of a good leader, sitting on the fence, so that you have somebody to blame. Self-leadership is modeling leadership in our health, demonstrating leadership in our families, reflecting leadership around our finances, living leadership within our organizations and communities. So self-leadership is holistic, whole, WHOL. You are seen wherever you go, be it in your neighborhood, be it the way you carry yourself, the way you manage your finances. Wherever you are, even sometimes when we get you in a public place or in a matatu, that will come out. You'll be modeling leadership even in that matatu. The way you handle an issue, you'll not join, some form of activism. No. You'll be able now to say, how do we tackle this? How do we come up with a solution? Self-leaders constantly develop self-awareness, self-confidence, and self-belief. I think we had mentioned about this, very key, those selves, the 3 selves. So self-leadership, the 3 selves, awareness is about knowing your intentions and values, as well as knowing your strengths, abilities, and weakness. Very key. We have said you are the main character in this movie. And this character, his values must be very clear as he starts, calling others to join him and pointing others to where you want them to go. You must know your strengths, abilities, and weaknesses. Then self-confidence it comes from knowing your strengths and abilities. And we take actions and develop skills, we become more confident. So once you are standing there, you are pointing people and you can actually show it even on your face that you know what you are saying and even where you are taking them. Actually, people are able to see even from your face that you know what you are saying, and they'll be able to buy. Self-efficacy or self-belief is the belief that whatever comes our way, we can handle it. We can take the feedback, accept, adjust. Sorry, there is a bit of some interference. We can take the feedback, accept, adjust, and advance. With self-efficacy, we can be more creative and innovative. Very key. You cannot advance if you are again not listening to the feedback from your people, how you are going. It's always good as you form your team or the people you are leading. Know the expectation from day one, so that as you move together, you are able to keep on addressing the expectations. At a certain point, carry out a feedback whether we are moving in the right track, work with them, adjust. And that's why even in the journey of leadership, or even when you are implementing a strategic plan, there is something we call mid-term reviews. Yeah? Mid-term reviews or quarterly reviews and all that, so that you can actually adjust with your team, whatever you need to adjust, so that you don't miss your target, so that you also don't leave some people behind. There are times when the leader can be a bit too passionate, and then some people will be left behind. So that is a time to see what you can adjust midway as you keep on advancing. So feedback, very important. And also adjusting as you advance. And then to end, we'll end with the quote from this author of The Leader Who Had No Title, Robin Sharma. He has some quotes here. He's a leader who has written a lot about leadership, on winning in these times of revolutionary change demands revolutionary leadership model, creating an environment and culture where everyone needs to show leadership. We have said it, wherever you find yourself, we need to show leadership. Starting from yourself to your home, even where you are 2 or 3. Everyone drives innovation. Everyone inspires teammates. Very key to drive, to inspire your teammates so that they can buy, what you are studying for or where you are pointing them to. Everyone embraces change. Don't be static. We have seen some people in our days, change came and they were not they were not ready to embrace. And so many things, they fall into the wayside. We have seen like even things like taxi. If you don't embrace the new change, where we have the Uber, where you call and you are picked from where you are. There are those who remain with the tradition one. With the time, they are being faded out and they are being made uncomfortable because a new thing, a change has come. Everyone takes responsibility for the results. Unless you take responsibility, you can never change. You can never be a good leader. So that also you evaluate, this is what decision I had made and this is where it has landed me. So that now as you adjust, you already know how you had taken the earlier decision. Everyone leads through positive thinking and everyone devotes to expressing their absolute best. Be the best, give all your energy, be totally sold out to what you are doing, and you'll be able to lead in the times that we are in. In these revolutionary times, everyone can be a self-leader to lead self and others. So let's pick those quotes and we'll be able to lead in the times that we are in. So in our lesson today, we have a leadership challenge where we are required to evaluate our self-leadership based on the self-leadership qualities that we have talked about and identify areas of improvement Very, very key. Once you have identified the areas, then you start working on them. This is the only way, again, the training that we are going through can help us, that you can actually be able to point and say, before this training or before I took this lesson, this is where I was. But today, this is where I am. I'm working on this area of me. I'm working on my self-awareness. I'm working on my values. I'm working on my beliefs. I'm working on my principles, so that you can become a better leader. So let's take that challenge, and we put in something, and then as time goes on, you'll be able to see transformation. Thank you very much. Thank you for working together this evening. I believe we have learned something, and we'll be able to become better leaders. Thank you, Joseph. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Githiomi. I think we can take some seconds just to appreciate Mr. Githiomi in whatever style that you are comfortable with for the good presentation. Thank you so much. Yep. So let's take 2 reactions, and then we'll be able to move on to lesson 9. It can be maybe a contribution, a comment, a question, whatever direction you want to bring it from. You can take 2 reactions. It can be a take home, whatever you feel has come out strong. So let's just take 2 quickly, and then I'll be able to move on to lesson 9, which will be our final discussion for tonight. So just 2 reactions. Probably you can just unmute and just mention. I'll point out your reaction. Can also be a compliment. So we can take just 2, including chat also.
Yeah, maybe if I'm allowed through the reader, I can make a comment.
Yeah, welcome, Mr. Samuel Mwangi.
Thank you. Sorry, I joined. I had a bit of a problem with the sound, so I missed a bit of the presentation from Mr. Githiomi, and indeed, it's quite good. Maybe what I want to mention is very, very important in leadership is character. You can have all the others, but character is key. And you can be able to identify with the examples of the leaders we were given earlier. All of them starts for something. And if you look at the character of all these, the aspect of humanity and trust, the values that they stand for, it was about others, not about themselves. Because if you are a leader, you can only be, whatever you have is meant to benefit others, not yourself. So therefore, the character of the leader can be able to tell you exactly where this person is taking you, and the vision will come out very clearly. You may have the vision, but the character, the way he behaves, you'll be able to tell exactly whether this is in line with maybe the purpose for which God created the universe and the people they are in. Maybe for now, let me stop at that. Thank you very much, Mr. Githiomi, for a wonderful presentation. Over.
Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel. Joshua, I can see your comment on the chat. You are saying a leader has to be authentic for people to believe in him. And that authenticity, I'm sure it connects with what Mr. Samuel Mwangi was talking about, the issue of character. And authenticity is now what forms the basis of self-leadership. So maybe let's keep on with the discussions on the chat, especially if there is something more you may want to add on this discussion. Please feel free to share on the chat as we continue, and also including the session that we are now getting into, which is lesson 9. So you can also feel free to always share your comment as we continue with this discussion. Yeah, so lesson 9 is also very important. It's just a build up on what we have discussed on lesson 8, the leadership phases, as well as the leadership levels, because we have looked at the phases, we have looked at the levels. So we want to build it up and now look at probably what are the key roles that come out critically as far as leadership or leaders are concerned. So lesson 9, sorry, let me just go back a little bit. So let me just move on to lesson 9. So we're looking at the roles, or the role of leadership, or the roles of leaders. And we can start with a question here. I know all of us are leaders in different spaces. And maybe if we are to point out what are the key roles that we play as leaders, or what are the key roles that are expected from us as leaders. This will set the context for our discussion, and then mine will just be more of just to summarize what is coming out from all of us, from the collective participation here. So maybe let's do this on the chat. Just point out, maybe it might be a role that you're fulfilling or you're playing as a leader, or what is also expected as leaders. So what are the key roles? What are the key roles of a leader, or the key roles of leadership? Let's just share. I'll pick a few. Silas, you had mentioned on, I think, the previous lesson. The deeper you go as a leader, the higher your leadership will be. Yeah, thank you so much on that. So let's share on the chat. Let's share on the chat. Share on the chat. Yeah, giving direction. Thank you so much, Eva. Evelyn, giving direction is one role of a leader. Let's take another, maybe 3 or 4. Show the way, very, very true. Model the way. To empower, to empower, can take 2 more. So giving direction, empowering the team that you're working with, leading by example, showing the way or modeling the way. And then I can pick one more. Maureen, you're saying lead as an example. Basically, that's the aspect of modeling the way. And then Silas, very important, mentorship or mentoring, very important. So from this lesson, we just summarize a few, just to summarize what we have mentioned. And I will also link it up with other resources that are available. And one of the resources that is very credible when it comes to issues of leadership is a source by Franklin Covey. And for him, he talks about 4 roles that leaders play, which are highly predictive of success. That is, if we embrace these roles, they are indicators. They can lead us to a journey of success. So as leaders consciously lead themselves and their teams in alignment with these roles, then they lay the foundation for effective leadership. So what are these 4 roles that Franklin Covey has highlighted in his resources? One of them is that leaders create or cast a vision. Leaders create or cast a vision. That's a very major role of every leader, creating or casting a vision. And then secondly, there is the issue of executing or developing a strategy. You can be the champion. You can be the catalyst when it comes to issues of developing the strategy, and even going a step ahead to be able to execute the strategy together with the team. Then thirdly, the other role is to inspire trust, because trust is very, very important when it comes to issues of leadership and also the aspect of team formation. I need to be sure that, just as that photo is showing, that in case I fall, then I'll fall on safe hands. There is that aspect of you can depend on the team because you can trust the team. And then finally, something that I think Maureen mentioned is the issue of coaching potential, or the aspect of mentorship. The aspect of mentorship, you're able to offer support for other people to be able to walk through or to be able to rise up in the ladder of leadership. So on page 47, in the manual, page 47, so there are 3 blank spaces there, which summarizes the roles of a leader. And number 1 is create vision. So we need to clearly define where are we heading to as an organization. What is the end results? What do we expect to see at the end of the day? So a team need to have that clarity of the vision. We'll get into much details later on, as we'll be talking about the power of vision in leadership. But for now, just allow me to mention in passing. So clearly define your vision, or the vision for the organization or team is going, and how they're going to get there. That now comes in the second role, which is execute strategy. So consistently achieve results with and through others using disciplined processes. So executing strategy, this is now where the how needs to be clarified. How are we going to get to the vision that we can be able to visualize? And then thirdly is inspire trust. As I've said, the team members need to be assured that they can depend on other members so that they can advance together. So be the credible leader others choose to follow, one with both very important character and competence. Character and competence, because at the end of the day, and this is something that is being advocated for, even when some of the companies are hiring, they are tending to look more at the aspect of character, because they can always develop competence. But if character misses, then that becomes a big blow to the organization. So trust has to be based on these 2 aspects of character and competence. And then coach potential. So unleash the ability of each person on your team to improve performance. And also their ability to be able to offer solution and solve the problems that are within the environment, and then grow their talents, abilities, and potential. And this is now where the issue of mentorship comes in handy. Again, from another source, 1000ventures.com, they were able to come up with 12 roles of a corporate leader, and they grouped them into 3. So this can be the other 3 major roles that leaders play, that summarizes the 12th role. So one is visioning and leading the way. And I think most of you have mentioned leading the way, of modeling the way. So it's really a core role that all of us play as leaders. So visioning and leading the way, we need to create an inspiring vision. We then share the vision out, including the shared values, and then lead change, lead by example, as most of you have indicated. And then the aspect of demonstrating confidence in terms of the understanding of the direction that you want the organization or the team to move towards. And then secondly, we have empowering. Silas, I think you mentioned this, empowering and energizing the team. Yeah, so inspire and energize people, empower the people, the team, communicate openly, listen, support, and also help. In the previous session, we talked about that aspect of feedback. that now comes in when you're looking at the other roles. So listen for support, or listen for feedback, provide support, and also be there to be able to help the team. And then the other role, the third one, is encouraging teamwork, where we are talking about involve everyone, and probably you can use the team approach. The team approach. I'll expound on this a little bit. Then coach, bring out the best in your people, encourage group decision, and monitor progress. But again, we're saying do not micromanage. So these are the other 12, the other 3 roles from 1000ventures.com. Visioning and leading the way, empowering and energizing, and encouraging teamwork. I'll just highlight a little bit just to see how they connect from these 2 sources. So when Franklin Covey talks about creating the vision, this is aligned with visioning and leading the way. And then when you're talking about executing strategy, is also part of being able to lead the team and be able to give the clarity in terms of how, or guide the process of coming up with a how. And then inspire trust, that links with encouraging teamwork. And then coach potential, it links with empowering and energizing the team. So if I just break down a little bit, when we are focusing on creating an inspiring vision and leading by example, there are 4 key areas that we need to focus on. One is to create an inspiring vision. I like using the example of the children of Israel when they were moving from Egypt to Canaan. The picture that was painted for them to embark the journey was really an inspiring vision, because this was a promise of a land of their own. And this land, again, more importantly, it was flowing with milk and honey. It's an irresistible picture, something that if I see it, probably I might be want to be part and parcel of that journey. So the vision has to be inspiring, then shared values, give direction, and also be able to set goals that are able to stretch the team. Number 2, we are saying manage change strategically, where we need to create change, overcome resistance, and also be able to be the leader in terms of championing change. Then lead by example, as most of you have said, practice what we say, and then be able to set an example, and share risks or hardships, and then finally demonstrate confidence with respect and trust without courting popularity. And then number 2, or before I go to number 2, just to be able to add some weight on this aspect of creating an inspiring vision, because vision is the foundation, is a strong pillar of a leader. I'll use that word, is a strong pillar amongst the other pillars of leadership. Then leadership becomes a very core pillar of every leader. And this is emphasized in Proverbs 29, verse 11, where there is no vision, the people perish. When there is no prophetic vision, the people cast off restraint. Just the same wording, but different versions. Where there is no vision, the people are uncontrolled. And Theodora said, the very essence of leadership is that you have to have a vision, and it has got to be a vision you are able to articulate clearly everywhere, in every occasion, something that is so much embedded in you that every opportunity you get, you're able to share it out. And therefore, the task of the leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been, or where they ought to be. This according to Henry. So number 2, you're saying empower. Empowerment is critical. Empower, inspire, and energize people. So be enthusiastic yourself, because so that they can be able to read, not just from what we are saying, but again also from what we are demonstrating. So energize the people, create a positive work environment, delegate authority, and then also be open to ideas, have faith in the creativity of others. That's also very important. And then the issue of communication, that openness of communication with clarity in terms of guidelines. Empathize. Remember the ambidextrous leadership. I need to take care of the organization, but I also need to take care of the people. So empathize is important. Be willing to discuss and solve problems, listen with understanding, and also be able to support. And then thirdly, we are saying build and lead a team. Build and lead a team. A vision is greater than a leader, and therefore a vision always requires a team in place. So use a team approach where we're able to facilitate cooperation, involve everyone, trust your team, rely on their judgment, bring out the best in your team, and also have a common touch with them, coach and provide feedback, permit group decision, help your team reach better decisions, and then most importantly, be in a position to be able to monitor progress, but without micromanaging the team. So we lead your team, avoid too close, maybe if I can add that, supervision, do not overboss, do not dictate, lead team self-assessment. So basically, team is important. And when we are casting a vision, team approach can be one of the ways of casting a vision. But again, also there's the aspect of what we call the Sinai approach, where you've been able to conceive the vision as a leader, and then you are able to share it out to the team. So basically, from the roles that we have discussed, we are saying that as leaders, vision formation or vision casting is one of the most critical roles. And this can be done through team approach, where we're able to sit down with a team, listen to the team, and then be able to craft a vision together. Or the Sinai approach, you've been somewhere, you've been able to capture the vision, and then you come and bring it out to the people or to the team for ownership and also for support. And then we move on to vision planning, vision communication or declaration, vision execution, vision tracking and monitoring. And then finally, we have vision review and vision reformation. So leaders, this is just to set pace so that later on we'll be able to unpack this in more details as we get into much details, especially in terms of vision formation and also the other aspects of communication. But these are the core roles that all of us play in one way or another when it comes to aspect of leadership. So we're saying that, again, as a leader, the other aspects is that ability to be able to do the 360 leadership. The 360 leadership, where we have the self-leadership at the center, we have the lateral leadership on the edges, and then we have the upward leadership and the downward leadership. So this is a 360 form of leadership. There is also another role that we play. If we are leading up, probably here it's the aspect of competency, is the aspect of having the relevant skills. If we are leading lateral, it may be more on the aspect of influence or inspiration, be able to inspire the peers. And then when you're leading downward, this can be the aspect of mentorship, and also being able to coach potential of the team or the people that you are leading. So this is what we call the 360 leader, leading self, leading your peers, leading your boss, and again, leading your team. So that gives us just a highlight of the roles that we play, or the roles that we expected to play. And it's good to reflect on these roles and see how well you're able to undertake them. And again, maybe even to see, are there some that might be missing out from your roles of leadership, and yet they are very critical. So to conclude, let me conclude with this slide. Leaders cast vision, inspire trust and hope, influence, and also impact positive change. And our inspirational leaders, they're able to plan with the head, but lead with the heart. Inspirational leaders are able to plan with the head, but lead with the heart. They appeal to people's hearts more than their minds, and they influence through servant heart leadership. And John Maxwell said this: effective leaders know that you first have to touch people's hearts before you ask them for a hand. This is what he calls the law of connection. Every effective leader, the leaders that we have seen there, the leaders we've been able to talk about, the Mandela, Martin Luther, Moi Kibaki, among the other, Mother Teresa, Wangari Maathai, and many, many other leaders, they were able to understand some of this concept clearly, that as an effective leader, I need first to be able to touch people's hearts before I can ask them for a hand, because a hand will always respond to the heart. And this is important because, and so that we can be able to focus that one of our key roles is to be able to connect with the hearts of the people, to be able to connect the hearts of the people. Remember, when we were talking about leaders vis-a-vis managers, we said that a manager might light a fire under people, but a leader will light a fire in people. And that's what now brings this aspect of where a leader is able to touch the heart of the people, and they're able to respond by offering support, supporting him or her to be able to achieve the vision. So the journey might look smooth when we are planning, when we are undertaking the roles or planning the role. But again, as we get along the journey, the reality might not be what we had anticipated. And therefore, I think as leaders, these are the aspects that are important, that we anticipate. Things might change, but again, we remain focused to what we saw. The strategies might shift along the way, but what we saw and what we are intending to achieve in terms of the purpose and in terms of the vision, we remain focused on that. But the strategy might keep on adapting, because there are issues that, or there are things that we may not anticipate along the way, but as we face the reality, then we realize things may not be as smooth as we expected them to be. But again, we have to adapt for us to be able to make sure that we remain focused on the vision and we're able to lead the way for people to get to that destination. So this is a brief lesson, and this is the challenge. As a leader, what leadership roles are you playing to influence positive change in the society to create a better world? Basically, this is more just to be able to reflect on what we have discussed and be able to see how well you are performing in terms of those roles, because these are critical and very important roles. They might apply in different spaces, but again, in one way or another, you will find that you might need to fulfill probably all of these roles wherever you are. So just think about this, reflect on this. I'll share this on the link so that you can be able to take some time just to think through and see how well you are able to highlight areas that you can be able to work to improve. So that brings us to the end of lesson 9. And I don't know what has been or what can be your reflection on this, but I see already on the comments, there are a few comments. Mwangi, you are saying, know the way, show the way, walk the way through strategy. Rebecca Carey, you're saying giving guidance. I think that was a role of a leader or roles of leaders. And then Joshua, you've indicated planning in mind, but leading through a heart. Yeah, planning in mind, but leading through a heart. So let's take 2 reactions and then we'll call it a day, or we'll call it a night. Just 2 reactions, and then we'll be able to conclude. Yeah, there was a question, I think, Rawel, you had mentioned. Is leader or are leaders born or made? I met this question yesterday. And I think when Mr. Gidiomi was presenting, he mentioned something on this. And again, I think we also talked about this when we were looking at the theories when we discussed this last week. But let me, before I make my comment, let me allow probably Mr. Gidiomi just to mention something. But as he mentioned that, you can share your take home on the chat so that we can just read through so that we can be able to save on time. Welcome, Mr. Gidiomi.
Thank you, Mr. Kiari. I think my comment on this is that leadership, you can have some advantage, you know, when you are born or the family you are born, your background. But for you to really become the leader who will lead people or who lead an organization, lead a country, as we have learned, you need to really be trained. You really need to go through those development phases so that you can be, you know, that foundation we talked about can be developed. So the upbringing or where you are born, those are only maybe like advantages. So, and I remember we also saw it at one of the leadership groups, you know, in lesson 7. But the truth is, you need to develop as a leader. Yeah, you need to go through those phases as a leader so that you can be perfected and you become a leader. Yes, that will be my take.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Gidiomi. Probably we can also take a comment related on the same or on the discussions tonight from Mr. Mwangi, Samuel. Yeah, Mr. Mwangi, if you can get me clear, maybe you can also make a comment on that. But as we prepare to listen from Mr. Mwangi, there's quite a number of comments that are coming on board. Yes. Let me just read through this, and then we'll be able to listen in from Mr. Mwangi. So vision is greater than a leader, true. It can't be achieved alone. So you need a working team, because just think about the people that we have talked about. Most of them are not there, but we still championing whatever they started. So that thinking is very important. I think this is also a question. Is there a difference between born leader and made leader? I think, again, that is part of what we are discussing. David Okello, you're saying leading through conviction, put your faith and your conviction first and build a business that is based on the principles which matter most to you, and you will likely find that success will follow. Yeah, and then I'll skip Mr. Mwangi's comment because he'll make the comment. Mr. Mwangi, Bernard Mwangi, was saying the height of a building is determined by how deep and strong the foundation is. Equally so, good leadership is founded on a strong character formation, leading to proper handling of leadership roles. So let me allow Mr. Mwangi just to make a comment, and then we'll conclude with a few chats that will have come on board.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kiari and the team. One, just to emphasize on two areas which you have mentioned with respect to function, that a leader must be able to clarify the mission of the organization. That is very, very critical. If you don't clarify the mission of the organization, then you expect people will be doing their own things. And this one happens even in institutions, even in government, where employees are there, but not everybody knows really what is happening. It means even a sweeper in an organization should be able to explain exactly what the organization is doing. And I've seen this one happening at Kenya School of Government, where even a sweeper or those people who do the groundwork, they know exactly what is their role, and they can help any participants in that institution who requires support, because they are very, very clear on what the organization is expected to do. And number two is there's something I want to throw some spanner into this. There's something we call country club leadership. maybe this is food for thought, as opposed to what has just been said. You have received very, very good information with respect to the role of a leader and what is expected of them. Then there is what we call country club leadership. Two areas as you got to think about it. One, it normally emphasizes individual and team building satisfaction, that you want people to feel good. But one thing that they do not focus on is they neglect the task, and therefore they lose focus and failure. If you compare with the leaders we have just been given examples of Nelson Mandela, Wangari Maathai is across back home, that she was very clear of what she wanted to do. And that's why she loved the shoulders with the power and mighty, but the vision remained globally. And she was very clear. She didn't want to make anybody happy because she had a mission of conservation of the environment. That's food for thought. So maybe as you read, think about where are we? Are we looking at country club leadership where you want everybody to feel good, like maybe Kiabu Country Club and many other clubs, people just want to go and feel good? Or do you want to accomplish the purpose for which the organization was formed? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mwangi. Yeah, and probably just to summarize, maybe Silas has put it very well, but I want to take us back, leaders, that the good thing of going through such discussions is that whatever response we give, we're able to give it from a point of knowledge and also a point of reference. Because I think the question that was asked, are leaders born or made? We were able to go through the timelines of the different theories that have come up and the different philosophers. So we are able to link it up. This was a theory that existed. But again, what has happened along the way? And even today, the theories are still coming up. We haven't stopped there. We are discussing today here, and we are opening our mind to think more, even beyond the theories, so that we are able to also be able to have the real life experience of what is really happening on the ground. So I think one is just to be able to remember that always try to link the discussion to maybe a point of knowledge or a point of information, so that we engage from that kind of a platform. But Silas, you have put it well. You're saying that we are all born with leadership potential, and just monitor. Sometimes even the small children, you'll see some element of leadership, yet they haven't probably gone through any formal training in a way, but you will see some aspect. But those aspects may not be good enough. They need to be cultivated. They need to be harnessed. They need to be aligned. So we are all born with leadership potential, as Silas, we have indicated, but one must work it out. So there is a choice, determination, and mentorship for the leader to be more effective. And if you look at the theories that we looked at, you realize that those theories kept on changing. They kept on changing. So a philosopher comes up with a theory that leaders are born, not made. Later on, another philosopher comes up with another theory that no, leaders are born with certain traits. Then later on, another one comes up, and especially the skills theory, where he says no, leaders, they need to have skills in their domain. They need to have conceptual skills. They need to have people skills. And if you have such kind of a person, then you describe that to be a leader. But most importantly is what we concluded with, the servant leadership. And servant leadership basically brings it home. And it summarizes that ability of you or me getting into leadership because we were first servant. We got an opportunity to be able to offer some element of service, which we did it wholeheartedly. And we were able to create an environment of reciprocal trust, reciprocal service. And through that kind of arrangement, you realize that even those people are not looking for leadership. They didn't really position themselves to areas of leadership. They emerge becoming leaders. So I can just put it this way, that we discuss this with proper reference. And also we look at the journey, what has happened many years that this discussion has been there and is still going on. And we realize that indeed there are traits, there are those abilities that we are all born with. But most importantly, we need to subject them to an environment that will be able to bring them out. A seed has the potential to become a maize or any product. But again, the environment plays a big role, determining if that seed will just die as a seed with the potential, or that seed will become the right, it will be able to produce by that positioning of the environment. I think, Samuel Mwangi, you have raised your hand. Maybe as we conclude, we can just listen through what you have, and then we'll call it a night.
Good, thank you. Just one more point which you have triggered in your discussion with respect to the new roles you have just mentioned for a reader. One of the roles of a reader is storytelling. You must communicate your vision as a story. And that's where you find those people who have succeeded in influencing change globally. They have a story to tell. And I think this is maybe perhaps where we need to visualize the vision and put it in form of a story. And we can be able to benchmark some of those readers we have just been given before earlier. And two, leadership is a game of language. Are you able to convince that? That's where you find in the market of publishing, there are so many books and they have all ways of convincing us. It's about language. And three, walk and talk and connect with your people. You must be able to walk with them. And this is basically, if you read the story of Martin Luther King, when he was talking about he has a vision, it was in form of a story. If you read that, he said, I see a situation where my daughter will be judged, but not based on the color of her skin, but on, you can read the whole story. So essentially, basically, that is what I'm looking at as one of the new roles of a reader is a storyteller. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mr. Mwangi, and I appreciate all of you leaders as we continue. I can see the chat is still, the issues are still coming up. Maybe I'll post these ones on the chat for the WhatsApp group so that we can keep the discussions going on the chat also, because I'm seeing like we have been able to maximize the time that we had. So leaders, allow me to, I'll paste all this on the groups, on the group, just to allow us to continue discussing what we have discussed tonight. Otherwise, I want to appreciate all of you. We are now setting up the groups. From next week, we'll be able to get into the groups. And there's a question we asked in the chat, the self-evaluation, just to be able to identify an area that you are passionate about. Probably you're able to scan a problem out there in the environment and think about it. So that will be the beginning of our discussion. So when we get into the groups, all of us will share, and then we'll be able to agree maybe just to run with one as a group, which will form our group project for this masterclass. Otherwise, thank you so much for engaging. I think it has been really engaging and very interactive, and we appreciate that. And may God indeed bless you. So we can unmute and just be able to conclude by sharing the words of grace. May the grace
Our Lord Jesus
Christ,
Christ, the love of
the love
God,
of God,
God,
fellowship
the
of the
fellowship
Holy
of the Holy
Spirit,
Spirit, forevermore.
with us now.
be with us now,
Amen.
forevermore. Amen.
So
Thank you.
leaders, God bless
Good
you and
night,
have a
all.
blessed
God
night.
bless you. Good night.
Good night.
See you all.